really am calling the meeting to order. Can everybody please rise for the pledge of allegiance?
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk Galamas, could you call the roll?
Assessor Northern Pride.
Here.
Highway Commissioner Kazmierczak. Here. Clerk Galamas here. Supervisor Marask.
Here.
Trustee Jones.
Here.
Trustee Carabota.
Here.
Trustee McKenzie.
Here.
Trustee Sweet.
Here. Our first order of business is for approval of the minutes of the November 28, 2017 bill pay review. Do I have a motion?
A motion to approve the bill pay minutes of November 28th.
Second.
Having a motion and a second, is there any discussion? Hearing none, can you call the roll, Clerk Taylor?
Supervisor Marask.
Yes.
Trustee Jones.
Yes.
Trustee Carabota.
Yes.
Trustee McKenzie.
Yes.
And Trustee Sweet.
Yes. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of the November 28, 2017 board meeting. Can I have a motion?
Motion to approve the minutes of November 28, 2017 board meeting.
Second, anyone? Having a motion and a second, is there any discussion, amendment, changes, or deletions? Hearing none, can you call the roll, Clerk Giuliano?
Supervisor Marask.
Yes.
Trustee Jones.
Yes.
Trustee Carabota.
Yes.
Trustee McKenzie.
Yes.
Trustee Sweet.
Yes. All right, now, I think all of you guys know all the public participation rules. You can be public participation now or at any point of an agenda item of old or new business. Does anybody wish to have any public participation right now? Hearing none, I am going to ask for a motion for approval of general assistance expenditures.
Motion to approve payroll for pay dates of December 1st and December 15th and general assistance checks number 51018 through check number 51061 in the amount of $65,660.77. Second.
Having a motion and a second, is there any discussion? Having no discussion, hearing no discussion, Clerk Gilamas, can you call the roll?
Supervisor Marask.
Yes.
Trustee Jones.
Yes.
Trustee Carabota.
Yes.
Trustee McKenzie.
Yes.
Trustee Sweet.
Yes. Moving right along, I need a motion for approval of the road district expenditures.
Motion to approve payroll for pay dates December 1st and December 15th and road district checks number 20115 through check 20156, amount of $132,437.42.
Second.
Having a motion and a second, is there any discussion?
Just want to thank Walter for his input on the inquiries that we had of these checks, and the clarifications were appreciated.
Thank you. Clerk Gilamas, can you call the roll?
Supervisor Marask.
Yes.
Trustee Jones.
Yes.
Trustee Carabota.
Yes.
Trustee McKenzie.
Yes.
Trustee Sweet.
Yes. And now I need a motion for approval of the general town fund expenditures.
Motion to approve payroll
Leslie.
for the pay dates of December 1st and December 15th in the general town fund checks 55512 and check 55596 in the amount of $335,081.01.
Second.
Having a motion and a second, is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, can you call the roll, please?
Supervisor Marask.
Yes.
Excuse me. Trustee Jones.
Yes.
Trustee Carabota.
Yes.
Trustee McKenzie.
Yes.
Trustee Sweet.
Yes.
All right. Now, this month's board report is going to come from Marty Cook from Recovery Connection, which we thought was very fitting given that it's agency funding. That's it.
Longer, thank you.
And you're limited to 5 minutes. Good. Only because it's 20 below zero, and I want everybody to
My
get the
aim
same.
will be for 3. So I just wanted to come in and first of all wish everybody Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Kind of the first time we've been here since that I was before this board a few months ago, seeking more help to increase our programming. And so just want to tell you a little bit about kind of what a week in the Recovery Connection looks like now. So Mondays, we continue to do our volunteer work. Young adults go to speak to other young adults who are in treatment at Holy Family Hospital in Des Plaines. That's always been going on. But what we've added now is Wednesday nights. We are in partnership with Maryville Academy to provide golf lessons for our young people. They do that on Wednesday. Thursday night, we have our relapse prevention group and dual diagnosis at Chicago Behavioral Hospital. This is for young adults who not only have drug and alcohol problems, but have other kind of mental health issues going on, anxiety, bipolar, that just seems to be ravishing communities as well. Friday night, we have a yoga program that goes on at 6 o'clock before the meeting. That has been growing in popularity way beyond my expectations. A few people that came continue to come, but they've told their friends. So it's become kind of a whole other life of its own. So people really like that. So they go for yoga, and then they stay for our meeting at 7:30.
Are you doing yoga, Marty?
I'm sorry?
Are you doing yoga?
I am not, as you can tell.
Damn.
I avoid it. I get a lot of invites, but I was saying, I'm like the lunch lady there. I'm setting up the room and doing all that other stuff, so I can't, but maybe one day. So that is continuing to be pretty popular with everybody. Then we do our meeting on Friday. We're continuing to get numbers in the 50s every week. So Saturdays now, we have started a program with CrossFit in Park Ridge on Bus Loop, where a group goes in, and typically what's happened is that they go to an AA meeting at 10:30 in the morning, then go to CrossFit at 12 o'clock, and the CrossFit people are awesome, very supportive, and they do a whole group session just for our folks. So that too has been growing in popularity. We started that, I think, about 5 weeks ago. So we're going just about every other day, providing not only physical activities, but also stuff to support them in their recovery. So that's been really kind of, I think, what we wanted to see when we came before you guys a few months ago. So we're definitely, out in the community doing that stuff. A couple other things. I was happy that a few, it's in the board report, that it's not only about giving to these young people. I want them to give service to this community, which they do on Mondays, but I was very happy that they came to help in the food pantry. We have one guy that comes pretty regularly. He's been volunteering since November, but a couple weeks ago on a Friday night, we had, I think, 8 people come after the Friday night meeting. And again, these people used to be tearing up your community, but here they were here and they were helping out in the pantry. I hope next year to do it a couple more times before the holiday season, so as to not overwhelm Kara. So anyway, that, and then I'm just going to close with just a quick little story. So when we were starting this program, I called a guy who was an author and kind of a historian on recovery. He happened to be based in Chicago, and I said, hey, I got this idea. I want to do this. And he was very nice. He said, well, yeah, okay, good luck, I'll talk to you. And never really heard from him until probably about a year ago. He had reached out and said, wow, I hear some good things are going on. And as a result, 2 weeks ago, the guy's name is Mark Sanders, and he, at his suggestion, the state of Illinois, and it's a long title, but basically it's the Illinois Department of Human Services Division of Alcoholism and Substance Abuse, came here on a Saturday morning to meet with a few of our participants to learn how we do what we do here, and also how they can work to better communicate with this age group, because in their own view, they're slipping through the cracks and they're not able to kind of reach out to these folks who are taking the brunt of the opioid addiction right now in our country. So I was very flattered that it's kind of come full circle, that this man who, early on was just kind of like, okay, good luck, and now calls our program the model for the state, and is now referring, the state of Illinois, who we have no affiliation with. However, they are coming here to kind of learn what we do. Finally, very nice. This past couple of weeks with the Christmas holiday, I've seen the good and the bad. The holidays bringing kids home from college, and the parents are a little bit shocked at what comes through their door. We had one kid who lost a scholarship, a great scholarship, and he blew it because of drinking. And we had tried to work with this kid before he went away, but it didn't work, so he's going to be back home for the next semester. So that's kind of the sad news, is that this disease and this continues to wreck families, unfortunately. So we had those folks coming last week, but we also had 4 or 5 young people who were in our program a couple months back and successfully went away to college and stayed sober and are on the rebuilding part of this. So it's the ebb and flow of addiction. So hopefully those folks that came back, we're so grateful to what we do here because of the generosity of Maine Township. We'll be able to help those folks who kind of hit the bottom this year. So other than that, that's kind of all I had to say.
Thanks, Mark.
Great job. And I'm really thrilled about the Friday night and the Saturday event you did at the township. I had just one question. Do you allow, I have some clients who might need to fulfill court treatments through tasks. And do you allow that?
We typically folks.
I mean, if they're drugs, not alcohol?
Yes, we always welcome people with drugs, alcohol, and mental health. That's all on the table because that's usually separated. You can't talk about one at the various other meetings. That's what makes our program a little bit unique. Often people who are involved with the courts have the person who runs our meeting, or chairperson, sign off on it, and we've never been called, they recognize it as an official kind of recovery.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, I couldn't think of a better place for them to have a group. So, no, good. It's good to hear. Thank you, Marty. Really good job.
All right, thank you.
All right, and now we have officials' reports, and I'm going to start from Assessor Moynihan-Price.
Good evening, everyone. I hope you had a wonderful holiday, and I know I did. I'm going to keep, as suggested by our supervisor in an email today, because of the weather being what it is, and we should actually start our cars like 10-15 minutes before we take off. But anyway, before you tonight, I did hand out to the board for your consideration a proposed budget for the assessor's office. The assessor was mandated to put out a proposed budget 60 days prior to the fiscal year. So you have that for your consideration in front of you. It's something that's really voted on, and certainly we're going to be getting more discussion of budget. We just did the levies, so that's what I have for you. I'm hoping everybody has a safe and happy New Year, and I'll see you all next year. Stay healthy, and hopefully not too much snow, huh?
Yeah.
So,
These are Wally's sake.
sorry. Thank you.
Thank you. And speaking of Wally, Highway Commissioner Kismer.
I only have 2 items. Aqua has stopped the major project on Washington Street due to the fact of the cold weather, plus even if they wanted to work through it, they concrete places where they produce concrete are closed for the winter. So as a result, they had to refurbish the damage and the holes that they dug up over the course of late autumn, early winter, and they did a very nice job. I drove by there a couple of times, and especially with the snow, it looks like there was no work that was eminently done. So they did a nice job of refurbishing temporarily the damage they had created with the excavators and the other machinery they were using on the water project. Secondly, we had our first major snow. Well, it wasn't that major, it was a couple inches. But seemed to work out very well. We got a couple of emails from the Westview area and unincorporated Glenview. The former president of the association and the current president thanked us for doing a good job for the first measurable snow of the year. So they're very helpful in that regard too, because they remind their association members to move their cars out of the street when it's time for 2 inches or more of snow. So that's about it. Hopefully it won't be that bad a winter, but we'll see.
Did the issue at Emerson and,
Oh, that was a water main
break.
break. It might have been a 8 or 10 hour incident where water main broke yesterday, but it wasn't it isn't a major artery, so there wasn't much traffic control. And, all we provided was barricades, and they just did what they had to do.
what Dagmar was right?
And essentially, we also provided salt because, once they shut the water main out, whatever water's on the street is pure ice.
All right. Clerk Gillette?
Other than wishing everybody a happy and healthy 2018, I just also wanted to thank Officer Richards from the Park Ridge Police for stopping in and checking on us. It's always appreciated. And, that's it.
All right, now I'm going to go to that end, and trustee Susan Sweeney.
I think just in the past month, we spent a lot of time going over, looking at budgets and numbers and levies and income statements, and we appreciate a lot of hard work has gone into studying that to ensure that we're trying to spend taxpayer money wisely. And on the front of transparency, I have reached out to a couple other organizations other than Granicus, who we interviewed with before, to see the kind of services that they might be helpful to provide to us with the things that we've already begun to do, which is videotaping and now indexing, thanks to Richard Lyons. Thanks for the job that you've done on that. So I think that helps people to, at home, watch the meetings. And as I understand it, we're going to be looking at bringing that live streaming. So there's different options for that I've talked to vendors about. But if we can do that in-house too, that's an option we're looking at, and it can be done through YouTube and with a camera, with a phone. So we have to see how that works out. But potentially in the future, we can come back and look at a couple of other vendors that might provide that opportunity for us to do live streaming and also put the minutes online and automate that process and make it easier for us long term. So that's just on the back burner at this moment, but thank you.
Okay, trustee Claire McKenzie.
I don't have much to report except that it's been an informational couple of weeks going through all of the agency funding and seeing how it all gets put together and the averaging process and then the final product. I was very pleased to see how closely related we all were in what we proposed and how close we were to the agency's requests.
Excellent. Trustee Dave Carabotto.
To quote a previous board member, it's wonderful when you go last, because all you have to do is say ditto. Everything represented. And I do that from my heart. December 4, I had the wonderful experience of going over to view stage 1 of the water deep tunnel project. By invitation, President of the Cook County Water Reclamation District, Mariana Sparopoulos, on tape. I want to congratulate her for that accomplishment. It really was a wonderful thing to see. It's going to keep that water out of our basements. It's going to, as they said, it's going to keep it over there in tunnel phase 1. They also able to show me tunnel phase 2, which was extremely impressive. And all the work that they're doing to try to keep that water, like I say, out of our basements and off our properties when it comes to heavy rains. On December 8th, it was wonderful to attend the Main Street Christmas party at the Ritz. It was an honor to be able to recite the prayer, and it was a very wonderful, warm turnout. I'm sorry I couldn't stay for dinner, And then I had like 2 or 3 other Christmas parties I had to hit, they all hit on that Friday. But it was really a nice thing to attend. Of course, it's summer 19th, we had the levy meeting, and there was a lot of work that went into that. And I really thank the members of the board for all the work and time they put in on that. It was topped off wonderfully by the Main Streamers Christmas party on December 22. God, I slid in here a little late, but I was able to have 2 cold beers with some very nice people that I attended the party with. That includes Michael. And it was a lot of fun. And I want to thank Maine Township for all the wonderful experiences over the year. And I look forward to rocking in 2018 with you. Thank you.
And trustee Kim Jones.
I attended the Neighborhood Watch meeting at the beginning of the month and the tax levy meeting last week. And basically, it's been kind of summer for me in the township. But I hope everybody had a happy holiday, and I'd like to wish everyone a healthy, happy New Year.
All right, I'm going to hold my report until after the new business so that I don't hold up the people who are here for our agency. So we're going to move to attorney's report.
Laura just worked on a number of, responding to a couple of issues, and then clearing up that PAB matter, and so that's pretty much it.
Have we heard anything on that?
No, we haven't.
Did she give you any idea of any kind of time?
No. Can't say that she did. I could inquire, but sometimes, they just want to.
No, this is
The voice of experience.
There's a saying for that somewhere.
Right.
Something or other.
All right. Administrators report.
I just have new contact cards to pass out. I think I did this when some of the new board members started, but with your responsible retiring and Marie taking over, these have changed. So now you have Marie's extension and email address and spelling of the name. So, and that's all I have to add. Thank you.
And we have no personnel matters, and we have no old business. So, moving right along into new business. Our first item is agency funding allocations. Everybody has their sheets and packets, and we've now had a total of 4 meetings plus the board meeting where we heard from many people and public participation. At this time, and I do want to thank everybody for putting as much effort and work into this as they did. All right, so what I'm going to ask for is a motion to pass the amount that you see in the elected officials average. So we need a motion and a second before we can start discussing individual agencies, earmarking, and all of that. So my motion is to pass agency funding for calendar year, or fiscal year 2017, 2018-19, right? Okay. With the elected officials average is reflected in the last column on your spreadsheet. And may I have a motion for that?
I'll make a motion to accept the recommendations for total funding in the amount, should I say the
Yes.
amount?
Absolutely. Sorry.
$455,260 for the calendar year of 2000.
It's the fiscal year.
Fiscal year.
2018.
17, 18.
No,
18, 19.
I did it too.
Second.
18, 19.
Having a motion and a second. Now, is the time for any discussion. So, a couple things. There is some questions I think some people have about specific agencies. And I do want to earmark a few things. So I'll go first. So for District 63, and maybe Rich, you can help me out here. Oh, you're back by the camera. So this year, District 63 wanted the funding for a variety of programs, and that we have not funded, and that I'm not in favor of funding. What we have traditionally funded, and Rich and Marcia, correct me if I'm wrong, and Oksana, what we have traditionally funded is the, what was the TLC, which is after school.
Correct.
As well as the gym, the open gym. So those are the two things. I do have a sort of a stipulation here, though. One of the things when I met with Brian Williams, Dr. Clay, Janet Bishop, and Walter Kizmerchuk when he was still a trustee, and I was still a trustee, when Wally and I had voted 0 for a number of years because of some disagreements over their funding. Dr. Brian Williams had assured us that he was moving to using college students instead of teachers, and that if they were using teachers, those teachers were going to be paid out of the foundation, with our grant out of the foundation. However, in the instant case, it appears that he's still using teachers and moved away from the college funding, and I think it's coming out of 63's budget. Which, Oksana, can you correct me on that if I'm wrong? But that's what I see. It is coming out. So I have a problem with that. So is there a way we can earmark that cannot be? Like, we'll fund it, if everybody agrees to fund it, to the amount we have the average, to be the after school in the open gym, with the stipulation that any teachers used cannot be paid from District 63. And then also the other problem I had with them was they stopped having fundraisers, and I think that's a big problem. And I did miss his presentation. I wasn't, from what I heard, as good as it usually is. So I do have some continual concerns about them. And in the past, what we had decided to do was Oksana and, who was your partner in this? Eddie. We're monitoring them, like spot visits. And I'd like to still continue that. So, does anybody have a problem with those stipulations?
No.
Okay.
And you also raised a very good point you raised, because that was a huge concern I had, as you can see the position I took. Is that I just was not comfortable with the presentation that was given on those issues.
Yeah. Good. No, I really was not. At least from what I heard and what I read. The other one, I think that there was some question about, was District 207, school-based health center. So, now, we did get a legal opinion from Attorney Dowd. He modestly left that off his report. But he was very busy giving legal opinions. So, while it is legal, apparently, to do, that doesn't mean that it has to be done. So, any thoughts from anybody else? We have, Rich had to recuse himself because he's on their board. And I think that, do have one person that, and maybe Claire, if you tell us what you like about it, that would be helpful. Because I think the rest of us are having a problem with this.
Well, I had previous knowledge about the 207 Health Center from one of the people that has used it. And also one of the psychologists in District 207. I'm on the 207 Advisory Council, so I have meetings with some of these people, and they have explained to me, and had explained before I even became involved in Maine Township, how important it is for especially the students at Maine East and Maine West to have access to medical care that we take for granted. Our children, you know, I'm guessing all of us have health insurance and have easy access to very basic health care that a lot of students at Maine East and Maine West just don't. Even if their parents have some basic catastrophic health insurance, it doesn't mean they get to go to the doctor and just pay a copay, or that they are able to even get to the doctor, which is a big problem for especially children who don't have a car at their disposal. And for them to be able to just go into what we would know of as the nurse's office at a grammar school, at the high schools, having access to medical care is huge. And they have medical issues that you probably haven't even thought about. Pregnancy, mental health issues, breakdowns, that they get access very quickly, much more quickly than they would if they would have to wait until they went to a regular doctor, that they might not even get to go to because of money. So, I mean, just knowing about the types of care that's provided and the type of access that it affords and allows, I thought it was a good thing, and something that is missing and we can't provide as a township to these students who are falling through the cracks. So that's why I voted yes.
My problem with that was the presentation. I thought was, last year we had told them that it was an issue of double funding, and so this year, I mean, you were all here, and I know that, well, if legal, it certainly did not seem appropriate. That's just my issue with them, is that I believe the gentleman said that the foundation literally did nothing, was only being set up to take our money and spend our money. They also have $6 million funding from Lutheran General. Don't know.
6 million?
Yeah.
Really?
Wasn't it 6 million?
Wow.
Yeah. That's why I cannot understand why they're in the black. I mean, like, they're in, and they had told us the year before that they were going to expand, and it's still only in Maine East, right?
Maine West is going to have like Skype type of access.
I'm all in favor of telemedicine, but I have a problem with, I mean, those are the reasons that I ended up voting 0.
So if you're on the advisory board, do you have to recuse yourself then?
No, I'm not on the board, I'm on the advisory council.
Just 207?
I have nothing to do with the health center.
Okay.
I was also, I was extremely uncomfortable, and I did, after with discussion, I went back through all the notes, I went back to everything this week, as I mentioned before, in another board meeting, where you gave us, we agreed upon additional time, which was wonderful. Went back through it all over again, and I just could not get comfortable with funds going the way they were. I don't want to use the term playing the game or manipulating, but
Yes.
you know, when it starts getting dusty, I'm not comfortable with it.
Well, that's what really worries me. Even as low as it is, it worries me. Because I'm just not convinced of...
And it may start a precedent that, that could be other.
Right.
Although, my gosh, the
The services are great.
I think it's a great program, we're just not sure it's a good fit for us.
Right. So we can keep it at the 500, we can, I mean, that's what it's at. Does anybody have any other comments on any other particular agency? Oh, there was another few things I wanted to make sure we earmarked. Okay, so avenues, you have to worry about center, you don't have to worry about center of concern. All right, who voted?
Maine Township Association?
Yes,
Yeah.
I really, yeah, that's the other one. Okay. I struggled with this one. Marcia, I don't understand.
Which ones?
Maine, Manassas.
Manassas.
Right. So what, and maybe you and Oksana, what's the bottom line here? Now, I know last year, and you were very direct about it, which I appreciated, that they had not used their money appropriately. They were using it for scholarships, but we were using it for scholarships. We were double.
They've never gotten
You didn't give them a grant.
No, but that's what they were, I thought, didn't you say something about that?
2 years ago, not last year.
I'm sorry, 2 years ago. And then that's why we stopped. So now they changed, right?
Correct.
And I know we had a public participant about, and I, you know, after they presented, I did not know that the park districts gave them as much money as they did.
Marcia explained that though.
Yeah, and that's what I'm trying to remember, if you can refresh my memory as to, you know, how Des Plaines Park District gives them.
Isn't it Niles, Morton Grove?
It's actually, it's a cooperative. I was actually president of 25 or 30 years ago, but
Excellent.
it's a special recreation association that has Niles, Skokie, Des Plaines, and Morton Grove, I think, is their members that provide the special recreation facilities and programs and whatnot that are not generally available in the, you know, the mainstream sort of park district program.
Okay, so these children would not have the opportunity to go out and an outing or to the park if it were not for, and our funding, I think, is a token, right? A thing of community support. And that's the impression I was getting, is that correct?
You're correct.
Okay. So, there was no problem legally with Manassas at all, because they're not funded by anything that prohibits us.
But they could have the funding through the other park districts.
Right.
Offer that as recreation.
Well, and that's where I didn't quite understand that. I didn't watch the Des Plaines meeting, you know, park district meeting, where they gave $25,000, I think it was. And I know Park Ridge, I think you mentioned, or Donna mentioned, gave them some amount. But I think Marcia will tell you that the amount of money it costs to coordinate one trip for one person might be an extraordinary amount of money. And it's not duplicative. So I initially was against it because I thought it was duplicative, and I didn't like what they did a year ago, but they fixed that. It does not appear duplicative because I don't think Glenkirk and Harbor offer.
They have nothing to do with Glenkirk and Harbor, have nothing to do with the neighborhood.
But they don't.
No, I'm
provide
saying
site
it's like an
services.
agency, I was trying to look at an agency that deals with developmentally or, you know, just challenged children. And I don't see any other agency that we fund that does this. So, which is probably the reason Des Plaines and Park Ridge, the park districts did fund, I would imagine. And right now, we're at 300, which does not seem to be earth-shattering.
It's more trouble than it's worth.
Well, yeah, I was gonna, I don't know, I'd rather take the money from District 207 and give it to Master.
Laura, the reason why I brought it up is because we had a child, a family this year, who applied for the Riley Belichick Scholarship. And I that I could not even imagine what was involved until I started working with this family. This young man not only had learning disabilities, but he had health problems. So he had to have someone who accompanied him throughout his day to guide him through the activities for his learning disability. And then he had to have a nurse practitioner on hand because he had a severe heart condition to make sure that he was able to participate and nothing happened during the day. So that the tremendous expense that was expounded for this one child just totally blew me away. And that's how my attitude and my opinion came about. If we are not going to fund them and we do the Riley Belichick Scholarship, then of course they will be involved versus not being involved because they got agency funding.
So, my question to you is, given this low average here, unless we change that average, would they be better off served by being part of the Riley Belichick?
They would probably get more money.
Yeah, they would get more money, correct? Than doing
Yes.
any amount.
Yes.
Because that, having any amount would preclude them from getting the Riley Belichick Scholarship.
Yes, $1 will preclude them.
Well, then I'm going to ask to amend that to either, I mean, I don't know what the board's thoughts are, but I'd rather give more money, but not duplicate. So if we have it, then I'd say, I mean, you're right, 300 is like not worth the cost of administration.
Right.
So does anybody have a problem taking that 300 and putting it somewhere else?
No. No.
All right, now, let's figure out where to put it. Well, it can come back.
Should come back.
I'm sorry, or you can just subtract it, I suppose.
Yeah.
I have a question, and this might be an answer to something, because I was lower than others on CETA, and really that was based on getting the input Marcia had provided, I think, from a prior year, and the fact that they weren't earmarking as you had expected them to be. So if maybe my understanding is that that's going to change.
Oh, yes, thank you for
Can you
reminding
comment
me.
on
I
that?
do want to earmark that. You did have an issue with C.
I'm asking you, Marcia. I was lower on my funding quite a bit from from the request, but also from previous years because of some of the comments you made about how they didn't earmark according to what they had promised. And so that's why I felt that there was some question about that.
When Northwest Compass made their presentation, I was upset from a personal level because they no longer chose to fund single women trying to get back in the workplace. And as a supporter of WING since its inception, and a female myself, I feel that it's very, very important to assist women who are in charge of their own households, are going through divorce, or maybe, you know, the children, they never married. But it's better for them to be in the workforce, than to be on public aid. And if we're taking away the assistance that could be available to them in getting scholarships or additional funding for daycare, which is extremely expensive, I didn't feel that was right. And this is basically a passion of mine, so it's
Right, and
a personal.
And she didn't seem to comfort you when she was presenting to say that it would be different next year, which is why I cut the funding for it.
Well, the other
But-
thing that they didn't share with them was that their CEO had recently left. They had no CEO at the time that they made their presentation, so they were a little bit disorganized. They're attempting to get organized, and they're working on it very hard, but also they had done a study or a survey, and they decided that the current things that were more needy than assisting a single woman was assisting teenagers who were homeless, which is an absolute valid thing to fund, to fund for. It's just that my passion was geared more towards a single woman. So I'm sorry if I affected how you interpreted it.
Well, I don't think she answered when she was here your question as to how she would do things differently the next year. So, but I would say if you feel more confident that they will allocate that money to the single woman, or if it's,
They're
the
not
teenage
gonna-
mission is also
They're not-
equally as
they will
important,
not
to be
be-
considered giving money to raise the money for that.
They will not be allocating money for single women. No agency that we are funding has a special focus on single women.
Miracle House does.
Well, Miracle House does, but I'm talking about single women with children trying to be back in the workplace.
Miracle House does.
Right. Other than Miracle House, other than Wings, we don't have any help specifically geared to women trying to get back in the workforce. But you shouldn't base your opinion on my comments regarding funding them, because what they are doing and what they have chosen to do is very, very important also. Today we have a lot of young people who are homeless, a lot of runaways, and they need a place to go, and they need assistance.
Well, and also the final average is not far below what they asked for, so, I mean, it's.
So then why don't we just go with that?
Right. Yeah, I don't see, but I know what to, I had thought you had an issue with them too, but then I agree with you about the teen issue. So, I would say that I would give the $300 to Center of Concern, because that would make it like a nice round thing. Well, not really round, but right. Or to Miracle House, or split it. I love Miracle House. I think Miracle House, although they never ask for any more money.
You did over,
What?
you did over,
Right.
it was previous. But I don't know, like, avenues to independence, why didn't you?
Yeah, we can add it to avenues.
Because 3 of the board members,
I gave them the whole amount.
and
Yeah, I
you're
gave
giving them
full
I-
amount.
less than their 2017 grant.
I'm going to recommend the full amount for actually more.
Right.
If you gave it to,
Yeah, no, that's why I said I'd love to add it to avenues. I'm sorry, I know I said center, I meant avenues. I had my arrow pointed, sorry, John.
there's a Miracle
So
House.
you'll be okay.
With Miracle House, though, it would bring it up to what's close to their 2017 grant. And they're really not getting, the others are getting pretty substantial funds. If you took that 300 and gave it a Miracle House, it would.
That would be
Above
about.
the 17.
Well, I don't have a problem with that.
Harvard's
Here, I have an
Harvard's
idea.
the one that serviced the.
I have an idea. Does anybody have a problem? A big problem? Because can somebody use their calculator and tell me what the amount is between 50,000 and 48,580? What the difference is?
48,580,
Mm-hmm.
1,420.
All right, so I would actually suggest, because we're still under what we funded last year, I would suggest adding that to avenues and putting the 300 from wherever Manassas over to Miracle House. Does anybody have a huge problem with that?
So, I'm sorry,
So add the.
And make avenues what they want
Yeah,
at
50,000.
50,000.
Yeah.
And I mean, Avenues does like a tremendous job. I mean,
But we're going above what the total amount is then, or no?
No.
their total request is 50, and I'd like to meet.
No, I'm saying the total amount that we're paying out right now is
Right, this is,
$55,260.
yeah, I would make a counter an amended motion.
To increase that, 'cause I don't want to increase that.
Well, last year, we are still under it by 15,000.
Right.
So,
I mean,
all we're increasing it by is 1,700.
yeah, I would want to increase it.
All right, well, we can see if that, who else is in favor of, if anybody, of doing that?
I would just say, aren't we like rehashing this, like we went through this whole process of coming up with these averages?
Well, that's what this discussion is for.
I would not be in favor of rehashing just one of the many. I mean, if we're gonna rehash it, we gotta rehash it for everybody. That's only
Well, you
fair.
can, that's this discussion,
Okay.
you can add, subtract, like we were just, and earmark, and while I'm thinking of it, can we please earmark, God, just left me again, when we were talking about, Chicago Behavioral Health, or Family Behavioral Health Clinic. Exactly, did they get their psychiatrist yet?
Rich, did they?
Rich, did they get their psychiatrist and receptionist yet?
They did get a receptionist, but not a psychiatrist yet. They've been looking for the past year unsuccessfully. So they're still not accepting new psychiatric clients.
So what are they doing?
What are they doing
What
for
services
us?
are they providing?
Right.
for-
They provide therapy services, substance abuse services, and psychological assessments, as well as a few groups.
As well as what?
As well as a few groups and DUI risk education.
Oh, they are doing that? All right, can we earmark it for that? In other words, for the court services, the DUI risk education, and this psychiatrist? I mean, I think when they were here, I wanted some kind of stipulation. But I guess we can't really do that. That we wouldn't fund them if they didn't get one. Because that was pretty much part of the point.
Yeah, we funded them last year with the assumption that
With
they
the assumption
would
that
find
they
somebody.
were getting
Yeah.
one. But we don't have anybody, we have so few mental health places that I hate to take it away. All right, so, Dave, you want to give that extra money to Miracle House or Evans? The 300 I'm talking about.
That would be the Miracle House.
Okay. All right, so, I'm in favor, yeah. That's it. Does anybody have any other big issue on anything else?
What do we decide to do for the District 207 school-based health center?
Well, we all voted 0, but I can't take away Claire's number. I really am not comfortable with them, but,
Because there was $500 there for the average, so.
right.
Do we come up with are we going to assign that 500 or allocate it somewhere else?
Well, my thought there would be to allocate it somewhere else.
I agree.
Yeah. But it's just so.
Well, then if we have the majority of us that want to allocate it somewhere else, then we should allocate it somewhere else.
Well, then let's go through every single one.
Yeah.
That's fine. We absolutely can do that.
Yeah, I feel like we should be consistent with what we've already made a decision. Our process has been to take the averages of the 5
Because
board
then you
trustees
should
and
have just
supervisor
voted
board.
after every single presentation when it was fresh in our head. But we went through this exercise and we have averages.
Mhm.
So, I mean,
That's the beginning of the discussion.
Okay.
And I, don't want to say horse trading because it isn't horse trading, but it is, we didn't have our legal opinions then. And Susan had asked for additional information, and we got the additional information. It's, you know, it's 500, it doesn't mean.
Maybe if,
I just really.
we get some unanimity, I guess I could back and just leave the 500 there, I suppose. But I appreciate all you're saying, I'd say.
I just want to understand, the motion was to pass the average of the elected officials.
That's the motion.
Yeah, that's
Right,
just to
and then
open the
it's to
discussion.
open the discussion.
Right.
So my comment was I don't think we should change from what we previously had decided with the exception of
This was just a
the one.
worksheet.
Right, it's a,
This is
right.
just a worksheet. This is the starting point. And then everybody looks at the averages that we all put, because we didn't see these numbers that are the recommendations prior to this pack day. And so now we can discuss it in a public forum. And where the other, based on the other members' recommendations.
Exactly.
So I just gave my opinion.
So,
I just think we should stay consistent with what we were, with the exception of the $300 that we seem to mutually agree that we should also.
because it would be nice if we could have a unanimous, it'd be nice to have a nice unanimous.
Move the 3 and call it a night.
All right, I'm fine with that.
Move the 3.
Move the 3. All right, so, we have now, I'm gonna ask for an amended, we're gonna,
A motion to move the $300.
first of all, let me have a motion to either amend or table that. Viesha, help me out here. Is it amend or table?
You'd be amending.
Amended, okay,
Can I
so
make
a motion to amend the 2018-19 grants internally, essentially, to reflect Miracle House going to 4,700 and Manassar having the 300 deleted, but I wanted a record that the reason we're doing that is because we feel they can get more help from our Riley Bielchik scholarship. And I think that's the unanimous consensus of the board. So it'd be the same bottom line amount. So it's really just to amend the internal, those two contracts. So can I have that motion in whatever form?
I move to approve the 2018-2019 grants as set forth, totaling $455,260 with the one amendment of the $300 transfer going to Miracle House. Total $4,700 going to Miracle House. That would be the motion.
And I'll second that. I mean, a motion and a second. Do we need any more discussion? Hearing none, can you call the roll?
Supervisor Moraz?
Yes.
Trustee Jones?
Yes.
Trustee Carabota?
Yes.
Trustee McKenzie?
Yes.
And Trustee Sweeney?
All right, congratulations. It's always the hardest thing to do.
Oh, for future reference, next year and beyond, I really didn't want to fund District 63 TLC, so I always made a motion to vote on that separately so I could vote no on it. Yes on everything else.
That's a really good idea.
You remember that well?
I do, and I was right there with them. But I gave them more, so. I'm giving them one more year to get their, serious, I'm sorry, their stuff together. And if you find in those visits, honestly, I really want it brought back for the board. Congratulations, John. And so these will be signed and sent. Those are the sets. Okay, yeah, because these are contracts that go out later. All right. Now, we've got the sexual harassment ordinance, 2017-5. Law was passed that municipalities, townships, governing bodies have to adopt a sexual harassment policy by January 15, 2018. Since our board meeting is after that date, we copied the model ordinance, Doreen did a fantastic job of adapting it to township. This came directly from the governing body that passed the law. So can I have a motion to, oh, and you guys have 2 weeks. I assume the board has read this, so if you guys can sign, if we can all sign it tonight. One document is everybody has to sign, include all employees, all board members, that they have read it and acknowledge it and hand it back. The other document is the actual ordinance. So can I have a motion to pass ordinance number 2017-5?
Motion to pass ordinance number 2017-5.
Second.
Having a motion and a second, is there any discussion?
Thank you. If I
Yes.
can.
Sure.
Looking at page 2,
Mhm.
I did look at the Illinois law, Illinois statute, and the definition of sexual harassment does match word for word. The problem that I have is the conduct which may constitute sexual harassment includes, and they have paragraph 4, which is says physical, touching, then it says unwelcome, hugging, kissing, pinching. Touching, is a problem that I see in that. Working with Maine Township and the Maine Township staff, they seem to be more of a familiar relationship than a cold type of corporate environment. So there should be, we're touching, which is, normal touching is common. So I'm wondering though, Laura, what your thought was.
What page?
Page 2.
I think
Exhibit A.
I don't have it. I'm missing exhibit A. It's- I mean, I know I'm not. It's here somewhere in my.
Right.
All right. So it should have an intent, right?
It should have a word in front of it. If we add another word, unwelcome,
Right.
that
Right.
maybe,
That should
Unwelcome
suffice.
should have been
Because you could have a handshake. and
That's
that's
it.
all.
Right.
You could put your arm
No, I
out.
agree with you.
So
I agree
unwelcome
with
should be
you.
for-
Unwelcome should be before the entire thing.
It's-
Yeah.
It should modify the
Yeah.
entire
That's
sentence.
a good point.
Okay. So we're just gonna switch those 2 words.
Yeah,
Uh,
just reverse them.
Right. Yeah, no, that's an excellent point. Okay. All right. And, now, the other thing I had, is the language really textual?
I know, right?
That
That's-
does not sound right.
Right.
Is that the?
Paragraph 9?
Paragraph 5.
Was that the language?
It's a word, I looked it up because I questioned it too.
I mean, this came from, and again, I don't know that Lisa Manning, that's all that great legislation. I never, I mean, I know the word, but
Right.
it's not in this
Context.
context.
Right. I don't know what, I agree.
I think it should just say texting electronic.
Yeah.
I agree.
I
I mean,
was, that's
textual is
right.
not the right
I was
word.
trying to figure, I was trying to figure that straight.
Because that's what it's talking about, texting,
Right.
which is texting electronically. Textual means you're looking at a sentence and you're looking at the meaning of the
context
word
of it.
in the context.
And as you know, clarity is so important with this.
Oh, gosh. Does everybody agree to change that to texting / electronic?
Yeah.
Yes.
Good thing we have some lawyers. All right. everything else.
Well, I guess the one comment that I have about this in general is that we're adopting this by roll call as though we have a choice to vote aye versus nay, but yet it's mandated that we vote on this. So it seems like it's kind of a veneer of democracy because it's not letting us make the decision other than, I mean, it's made for us that we have to adopt this. So it's almost like we should just sign that we're adopting it versus saying that we support all the language in it. Like, for example, I mean, and maybe this is in part because I don't know what the Illinois, requirements, but there's a fine of $5,000. So if in the event that, we felt the fine should be different than $5,000, based on whatever, was decided.
Well, we do have a handbook.
We're limited by this, So
Oh, I don't
we have
think
a-
we're limited by it. It's in addition. Because we have, you're allowed to use your own handbook. You just have to have, like, you're right, you do have to
Right.
adopt.
So we
Some
have to
do
adopt,
not.
so we should just
But our handbook
technically
is not
sign that
an
we're
update.
adopting something, but we don't really have a choice as to whether we're
Of course,
voting by roll call,
But what's the?
But yet we are, that's what we're asked to do.
Mhm.
So it's,
and I believe, and also,
I mean, are we against it? I mean,
well, it's just,
I believe that 5,000 came from the statute itself. I mean, it mirrors the statute.
it's the ethics commission. If someone makes a false statement. for this,
Right, that's also
bad,
right. It goes right back the other way.
it goes bad.
So yeah, that's where that number came from, was from the statute itself.
Right, so it's always, as Dan will tell you, read in conjunction with other statutes. Correct?
Yes. But I was looking at myself, who imposes the $5,000 fine?
Where, what page?
It's,
Consequences, section 5.
I mean, that's sort of hanging out there. What's the administrative body that makes these decisions?
It's the new legislative inspector general.
Right.
The person who announced we had to have this. I mean, that's what,
Okay.
when I did the research, that's when it seemed, but I frankly can't imagine a scenario where, I mean, we have a lot of statutes that have that number, right? I mean, or some kind of fine, and I've never seen.
Right, it's made, it's
Made,
not
exactly.
mandatory, but it's,
It's like,
there just doesn't seem to be a real good framework in here.
no, it doesn't. I mean, it's.
Employee to understand, what rights they have to challenge it and how the final determination is made. But also probably something we can look at and maybe amend, further down the line.
We absolutely need to amend our handbook.
Saying that it's due by the, January 15th, but,
But then revisit.
yeah.
Yeah, and I took it, unless I'm wrong, I took it as a template. This is their proposed template.
Right.
it's identical.
And that's where I think the number came from. I don't know why I can't find it now, but I believe it came right out of the statute here.
It did. It's right in 5 ILCS 435-65.
Yeah.
And then, as Susie pointed out, corresponding one is in the Employees and Officials Ethics Act. However, that provides, guilty of a Class A misdemeanor. This one doesn't. So, I think that the whole thing is fine with the amendments we did, because we will be amending our policy, our internal handbook,
Personnel manual.
which is read in conjunction with this. So, the way I read this is that it's up to us if we wanted to impose that, not up to, like, it's only after they reach that point in the discipline process that any such fine would be, it'd have to go through this whole board.
Right.
So I think that's the safeguard.
I don't know that it says that though, does it?
In addition to any and all other discipline that may be applicable pursuant to the employer's policies, employment agreements, procedures, employee handbooks, and/or collective bargaining, any person who violates this policy or the prohibition may be subject to a fine of up to $5,000.
Right. But
Applicable discipline or discharge. And any fines and penalties established pursuant to local ordinance, state law, or federal law. I mean, which part would you take out? It doesn't
no,
matter.
what I'm just saying is that it doesn't really explicitly say there who's charged with finding a violation and determining, you know, what amount of fine should be levied against the offending employee. I mean, maybe there's something else in the statute that will, you know, lend guidance for how those, you know, decisions are going to be made, but.
Well, I think it's our handbook, quite frankly, and like with our fixing up of these definitions.
Yes, it seems.
I mean, it doesn't say the supervisor shall or may, it doesn't say the board may, it's just sort of like something that was taken out of the context from another statute and sort of pasted here where it just doesn't flow very well.
No, it's a terribly, I mean, there's no question about it.
I mean, it's, you know, everybody's rushing into this, you know.
Right. Into this.
Well, this would refer us back to the handbook. though.
That's my point
Yeah.
that I'm trying to make, is that
And maybe
this
it does,
refers
right?
us back to our own handbook.
But like-
So it would be us who, I mean, traditionally I've had to do with Dana, the investigation of any discipline, and with Dana.
Yeah, but the ability to impose a $5,000 fine is pretty penal. Really is, for each and every offense.
We passed it for the ethics. When we made Dave the ethics officer.
There's a public hearing,
All right.
and this is where we had to, this was amended, and we added 60 days, and all. The only time I see 5,000, this has to do with the representing 5,000, and that's before the local government. I don't see anything.
So where did this come?
Well, what was the other one in there?
Right, what choice? God, remember twice.
But it does reference the Ethics Act, just like you
Right.
said,
See,
so.
I think it's coming from the ethics act, honestly.
I do too.
Makes sense because it numbers.
Because it's referenced.
It's referenced and it's the same.
But
And I think
by
the
preponderance of the
may
evidence, is it beyond reasonable doubt? What standards? It's just really kind of a heavy-handed provision that doesn't have enough real good due process, I would think, for.
First of all, it would definitely not be beyond a reasonable doubt. It's an administrative proceeding. I mean, it's
But it
not
should
a
say it,
criminal
right?
charge.
It should say by preponderance of evidence, determined by whoever.
That's what our handbook says, though. I mean, we can amend it to say that.
I would just say, I would say adopt it now and we'll find it later. I mean,
Oh.
you want to do something you want to do on the run.
Yeah, I mean, it is something that has to.
Right, but it's just not very well written in terms
Oh,
of
that's
how it.
correct. But I think that's why it's got so many mains, like conduct which may constitute sexual harassment. Whistling? Right? Whistle while you work, I would be getting,
Well, is this something that you can just adopt tonight and then refine it?
yeah, we can absolutely do that. I mean, Dan, there's no reason we can't do that. It
No, I
has to
just
be
that, do it and then,
Right.
you know, we'll take a look at.
And then I say we amend it, or, you know, at the same time we amend. our
See what the
handbook.
interplay is with the personnel
Yeah.
policy manual, that may be the guidance.
Right.
But yeah, it should be something that's a
Because,
working
you know, I'm
process.
not a fan of the 5,000 either.
So can we vote yes, subject to amendments?
Well, that's, you really can't have a anticipatory vote.
How would you suggest we do
Sorry, I didn't
it?
hear that one.
How would you suggest we do it?
Today?
Voting yes, subject to,
You know, well, it's all going to be subject to being amended, you guys know that up later, but I think with, I would pass it then with the guidance of the staff and I.
I mean, you don't make that motion, you just, it's reflected in the minute.
In order to meet the
Right,
compliance.
and maybe next meeting I can report on how, after looking at all the things and how all the moving parts kind of come together, how this thing is going to be, how it will work, in the
Right.
event that there are complaints.
Because they forced it on us in a week. I mean,
Right, right.
It's ridiculous.
60 days is not enough
This
time.
is-
No, normally they give you
No.
6 months.
I believe it was signed into law like November 18th. They
Yeah,
just said
and then you have to have it in place by January.
January, it's ridiculous, right?
Over the holiday.
Right.
So I would ask, that we pass this motion tonight, and we've established by, majority of the board, everybody, not just the majority, unanimous, that we definitely want to refine it, amend it down the line. But I don't think that would be part of the motion.
No.
All right, so let's call the question. You remember the question?
Call the roll.
Yeah.
Supervisor Perez.
Yes.
Trustee Jones.
Yes.
Trustee Carabota.
Yes, with the amendments that we talked about.
Trustee McKenzie.
Oh, yes, exactly. I'm sorry. It does
As
have to
amended.
be as amended. With the words.
Trustee
Do I
McKenzie.
start over?
Yes, all right,
Call
so,
it correct question.
yeah, can I have,
Motion to approve the sexual harassment ordinance 2017-5 with the suggested amendments.
and I'll second that. Now we've had the discussion, and you call the roll.
Supervisor Perez.
Yes.
Trustee Jones.
Yes.
Trustee Carabota.
Yes.
Trustee McKenzie.
yes.
And Trustee Sweet.
Yes.
All right, moving right along, we have,
One quick question to Mr. Dow. There was one of the things I know I would want to communicate with you, is as far as the ethics committee, is there any action that needs to be taken within, right now at this point, as far as setting up an annual meeting or like that? There's nothing that needs to be done. So we
I think it's
control
pretty much ad
that.
hoc for each particular instance.
Yeah, so.
I don't think there's any requirement that there be an annual meeting, if there's no business brought before the commission, but I'll double check on that too.
Yeah, great. That's appreciated.
for some reason, no, I don't have anything to sign for acknowledging that I received it. It's Schedule A, Exhibit A.
It was attached.
I mean, I don't have a blue book. Am I supposed to have one? I have 2 ordinances that are the same.
An exhibit A should be attached to it.
Should we write
It
second?
is here. I'm sorry.
Well, I didn't do those.
This is what I,
No, you have to have an exhibit A attached.
I'll make these changes. I'll hold on a second. All right, final order of new business, and I am almost, I think I'm gonna make it, is that we need to adopt the scheduled meetings for fiscal year 2000. I'm going to ask for an approval of the resolution of scheduled meetings for fiscal year 1819. It's ordinance number 2017-19. May I have a motion?
Oh, yes. Motion to approve resolution number 2017-9, schedule of regular board meetings for the fiscal year 2018-20.
Second. Having a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
And the December 27th is kind of a tight thing for me, as experienced this year, coming right off of Christmas, but.
Wednesday was worse.
Yeah,
The day after.
because the 27th is a Thursday, I don't know if you want to make it the 28th Friday, I don't know if it's worse than the
Yeah, I thought I would never get all of anybody.
Yeah, so maybe I'll just
I mean, you don't have to, I mean, you can be absent, we go through this,
It's
I
like
mean, we
a
did
Friday
check.
before the New Year weekend.
I know, nobody would, nobody,
I
we
mean, I
check
know Doreen would be here.
all religious holidays, we check everything.
I heard the name, but I
I
didn't
said
hear.
Doreen would be here no matter what.
Yes.
The 27th next year is in.
The 27th is a Thursday for December.
Well, this year's Wednesday.
I know, so
Oh, isn't
we're
there
a
just,
day.
oh, you're talking about, I'm sorry.
There's your-
All right, so let's call the question.
Supervisor Moran?
Yes.
Trustee Jones?
Yes.
Trustee Carabota?
Yes.
Trustee McKenzie?
Yes.
Trustee Sweet?
Yes.
All right, now I'm going to make my very short board report. I can get this down. All right, I'll sign it again. There you go. Okay. 7 minutes. All right. All right. First of all, I want to correct the record. We had a long discussion of the levy the last time. Park Ridge did lower their levy by 8.8%. However, they couldn't put it in their truth and taxation notice because the abatement amount is not allowed to be subtracted from the final levy amount, as it was explained to me by John. So I just wanted to correct the record on that. They were able to do that because they had the debt service funds and the TIFs savings. Second thing I wanted to announce was that in keeping with my somewhat contest with Walter as to who can be more fiscally austere, I gave up my cell phone. I found that I didn't need it, I didn't use it, huge hassle. And it was an expense that the township did not need to have, so we saved $545. Should have given it to some agents.
Thanks that a year.
Yes, well, yes, $545 a year. Also, we're getting started with the budget, and I have the department heads are, we're doing self-evals in the next week and 2 weeks. I also would like to give condolences to Audrey Nankervis's son, who died on, just terrible, what was it? December 20th. And the wake is tonight, which is why right, is why Dagmar is not here. So I did want to give our condolences, and I also, first of all, I do want, with respect to this live streaming, as many people as can sign up for the YouTube channel, if we have over, what is it, Rich? 25?
25 subscribers to live stream. Currently, we're up to 13, so we only need 12 more.
So we need 12 more, and then it can be free. So that would save a lot of money. You know, we'll look at, it'll be probably on the January agenda, all these various things. But, so if any board member, I'm gonna sign up. If any other board member, you know, we're encouraging signing up for that.
Where do you sign up?
Talk to Rich.
Okay.
Can you email us a link, Rich, or?
Yeah,
Anybody who has a Gmail
You need a
account
Gmail account?
can subscribe.
Okay.
where you subscribe?
So if you just Google Maine Township YouTube, it's the first link that comes up. Click on it, and then hit the red subscribe button,
Okay.
and then you're done.
Okay.
Okay, sure. No? All right. And then finally, I do need you guys to sign the levy that wasn't passed last week because it wasn't signed and it needs to get signed. I mean, with the no votes, that was reflected. Somehow, every week, we all left. And
We didn't reflect that in the minutes though, so how
the
is
no
that?
votes?
The levy that didn't get passed, the 2%
The minutes
vote?
for that last week's meeting haven't been up.
Oh, I'm sorry, you're
Right.
right, that was, never mind, right.
Yeah, because that's right, because it was between
Correct.
these two, that's right.
Correct.
Oh, or I signed in your spot.
I saying in yours, the other.
Do we need to redo it?
For which
Change
thing?
the name.
On the site, signed it on the top.
John Sachs? Mason?
Can we cross out? and
You can switch names.
Oh. It's okay.
Doesn't matter?
No.
Okay.
No, as long as
This
you
is the levy, right?
just print your name underneath
Right.
it.
I
Cross
can do
yours.
another page.
I mean, and it makes sense. 'cause,
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
No, it's fine. These were signed.
Probably was the company.
Yep.
Okay. All right. I have a lot to report, but we'll save that for January, and it is 4 minutes before 9 o'clock. I did it.
Nice job.
No, it's that back.
Motion to adjourn.
Oh, I'm sorry, we need a motion to adjourn.
Got 2.5 minutes.
We need a motion, somebody like take 3
Susan,
minutes
motion.
to make a motion. Oh, I'd like to say to have everybody to have a very happy and healthy New Year. And then I hope you had a great Christmas and that the party was outstanding. And, really, best thing ever, no taxpayer funds expended. And everybody contributed, I want to thank the board. And everybody who came, it was outstanding. And that will now become a yearly tradition, at least all I want.
Scrooge contributed too.
And, what'd you say?
Scrooge contributed too.
Yes,
$2.
yes, I'd like you to know I got a check from Dave plus a separate envelope with $2.86. Which I'm still getting used to his sense of humor. So having said that, please have a healthy, happy New Year and go warm your cars.
Need a second on the motion to
Second.
adjourn, and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.